Welcome to the Weekly Fix podcast, where we're just two friends talking about our passions within movies, TV shows, gaming, and comics. Thanks for checking out the podcast. We hope you like it. Hello and welcome to Weekly Fix. We're a day late, but we're not $1 short because we have an amazing episode for you guys planned. It has been a long time since we have been able to do a ranking list, and we are back with a ranking list for the top 5 MCU quotes for the Weekly Fix crew here. Jacob has his list, I have my list, and we're happy and excited to discuss what's going on. We also had a few trailers that I want to discuss real quickly and get a feel of where Jacob is with Andor right quick. But before we jump into any of that, Jacob, it was a Mother's Day weekend, so a lot of people celebrated and did some things. What did you do this weekend?
I did a whopping nothing. I sat at home. I read Invincible. That's actually one thing I could talk about. I did hit up a local comic shop that had a ton of single issue Invincible comics, which had me in like kid and candy store. I was absolutely loving checking out all these new comics and stuff that I've never seen in person before. So that's about what my weekend consisted of. Just chilling, doing a whole bunch of nothing, relaxing a little bit. But yeah, that was my not too exciting of a weekend, but a much needed rest weekend.
Now, I know you put a video on your YouTube about that haul, which if you know anything, we do put the link to Jacob's YouTube videos down in the link of or in the long description of this podcast. But what was your favorite comic, and have you got to read any of those from the singles that you pulled?
So those singles I probably will never read. I probably won't even really open them much. They're more so just to have. I do read through the compendiums for those. I do have all three, or I have two of the three compendiums for Invincible. I'll have to pick up the third one at some point in the future just to have them all. But that's how I prefer to usually read older comics like that. I don't like reading in single issues because while these ones were in great shape, if you were to tear one or anything like that happens, it does make it a lot harder to replace. So I usually stick single issue comics just to the new stuff. And older stuff, I usually try to find, trade paperbacks, compendiums, omnibuses, stuff like that. So these ones I won't read. They're just really cool to look at. But my favorite one that I picked up was probably Invincible issue number 33 with Angstrom Levy on the cover. If you guys aren't familiar, that is the issue that we get like the knockoff Spider-Man Doc Ock, the knockoff Batman. I think there's like there's a Walking Dead panel throughout there, just kind of playing some homage to some other big comics and stuff like that, which is a really cool issue. So that was probably my favorite one that I picked up.
Wow, that's awesome. Yeah, that's massive for you and your hunt to collect all of the Invincible comics. That's very, very rare.
Only 132 more to go.
So, I mean, you're closing in. That's pretty close.
Closing in. Yeah, might happen next year or two.
You are so much closer than you were 2 days ago.
Yes.
Or 3 days ago.
That's a good way to look at it.
That's awesome. I actually got some really cool comics over the weekend too. I had a birthday on Saturday, and my good friend Michael hit me up with 3 comic books from my birth year, which were pretty awesome. He got me a Doctor Strange, an X-Men, Age of Apocalypse, and then a Daredevil, Man Without Fear, which all were first printed in 1995. They are cover Ace, first edition, or first prints. So pretty awesome. It was really cool of him and Dolly to get me that. So pretty awesome. And then I had Mother's Day, celebrated Chelsea a lot. Got to talk to my mom a little bit. And then Chelsea's birthday was yesterday on Monday. That's why our podcast is a little late. I was celebrating her yesterday. So we took off work and had a wonderful day, taking her out to breakfast and then going to a bookstore and just really getting to have a good day with her. So yeah, it was a good weekend, and I'm really glad you got to find those comics, dude. That's an awesome weekend.
Yeah, hopefully I can hunt some more down in the future. We do have some conventions coming into the Jax area, which I'm hoping I can get to and maybe even find some more there. Maybe dabble in some grading stuff. These ones were in such good condition that I'm tempted to get a couple of them graded, but we'll see how that goes as I continue to collect them. I'd rather allocate those funds instead of sending them off to get graded to buying more of the issues. But it would be cool to have a few of these graded because I think some of them could pull a 9.8. They're in that good of condition, but
oh wow,
we'll have to wait and see.
How much does it cost to send a comic off to get graded for me and the listeners?
Yeah, I've actually never done it, and I've never really looked into it because I wasn't the biggest fan of grading comics for the longest time. I'm still not really because I feel like who's it's a person kind of dictating what this grade is, right? And who knows if you're going to get someone on a bad day and they don't want to give a grade a comic that they deserve, or maybe they give one that it doesn't deserve with such a high grade. So I've always been hesitant about doing it. The thing I like most about it is just how well they present once they're graded, the nice acrylic cases that they get put in and all that stuff. I believe if it's anything like a lot of other collectibles, it's usually about 60 to 70 bucks to send in.
True.
A lot of them will do incentives if you send in so many at one time. They'll drop them down to like maybe 30 bucks a piece if you send in like a bunch of them. So mine would definitely not be sending in that many. But yeah, it is a little bit pricey to get them graded.
Yeah, because I mean, you got 10 comics at $600 if they don't give you a discount.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
crazy.
But some of those could pull that by themselves if they get that coveted 9.8. So it's a
Yeah.
little bit of risk and reward stuff, but yeah, it's just it's an interesting topic for sure. Should you get your comics graded or should you just leave them as they are?
Well, you don't have any intention of selling them.
No, no, these will be in my collection forever.
Yeah, so I don't know if it's really worth it. Like, I understand if you're grading it to kind of turn a profit on a really cool one that you got that maybe you don't really want to hang on to. But if it's one that you're just keeping and you're just happy that you have, yeah, I don't know if there's really any value to you personally unless you just enjoy that
Yeah, for sure.
to get them graded.
Yeah, and it is cool. Like if you could just like pull out a 9.8 comic and be like, "Yeah, check this out. This is like a perfect grade comic almost." That's pretty cool just to have. So I understand the appeal. If even if you aren't someone that's trying to sell them, like you just want to have them in the collection. But I've kind of always been the same way you were talking about. Like it's just for me, right? I don't need someone else to tell me if it's got this little smear of ink somewhere in the page that you can't even see it, or maybe this corner isn't aligned perfectly. I just like having it in the collection. So.
That's awesome. Well, before we jump into the ranking, which I'm super excited talking about, I had such a fun time really getting into it. I did want to see how much of Andor have you watched?
Oh, I am fully caught up.
Okay, so tonight
Well, I
the
guess
the
technically
episodes
not
that
tonight.
oh, of course, yeah, yeah. So this is dropping on Wednesday. The last 3 episodes just dropped 30 minutes ago. How are you feeling about episodes 1 through 9? Just a quick overview. Next week we're gonna talk about all of Andor. But I just kind of want to give a sneak peek of the people. Hey, what are we feeling here at the Weekly Fix?
Yeah, I don't want to spend too much on this because I'm really excited to break this down and talk about each episode and how well I think the series did. And I'll just leave it at one word. It has been amazing.
Yeah, yeah, amazing. I definitely think that you are on the right track there. I'm really excited to talk about it. I think episodes 7 through 9
Hmm.
really far exceeded my expectations
Yeah,
for how the show was going to continue. And you even mentioned that you're like, hey, I don't want to judge the show yet because really, when episode season 1 of Andor really picked up in the second half and kind of made it the greatness that it is, and I was like, okay, you got a point. And then I watched these last few episodes, and I was like, oh man, this was cool.
yeah.
So I am very excited to talk about it. Honestly, my excitement's clearly probably coming through a little bit because we weren't supposed to talk about it, but I just kind of wanted to see if you were caught up and if you were enjoying it as much as I am. So that's exciting.
Yeah,
We
I
also,
think the highest praise I can give a show is like I have work tomorrow and I do want to sit up and watch all three of these episodes. Now I'm not going to because it's just not the smart choice to make, but just the fact that it has me wanting to and I'm not willing to wait. I like I guess I am willing to wait because I'm going to, but the fact that like I'm not like okay with waiting, like I wish I could just watch them tonight. I think that says enough about how excited the show has been for me.
yeah, and for me, I usually never make Chelsea sit in a room if it's one of my shows that she's not interested in at all and watch it. But yeah, she's been like, "You can watch what you want." And I'm like, "Okay, I'm turning Andor on." Like, so
Yeah.
that kind of speaks to how much I'm enjoying it because I am really having a great time with it. But the other two things that we had, I believe they dropped today or yesterday, for you listening. But we got a season 2 teaser for Fallout. Did you see? I know it's just a quick little snippet, but I didn't realize it was dropping this year.
Mhm.
But we did get a release date of December for Fallout Season 2. Does that really excite you? Did the new Vegas stuff pump you up? Well, how was that for you?
Oh yeah, I mean, I ranked the first season a 10 out of 10, so I am absolutely stoked for this. That little 30-second teaser we got, obviously it's not much, but just visually, it looks so good. Like the graphics look amazing, the camera work is really good. I'm stoked for this. And in a year that we have something like The Last of Us season 2, another video game TV show, I think it's going to bring a lot of competition at the end of the year when we're talking about what was the best show of the year. And just Fallout being the first season, me loving it as much as I did, the throwbacks to the video games that they did, all the callbacks and everything like that, how well they executed it. I have nothing but faith in this second season. And yeah, just seeing a little snippet of it, knowing, getting these little teasers really don't mean much other than that the show is done well in production and everything has gone according to plan. So that's what I was happy about. I'm happy that we didn't get a teaser and at the end of it said has been delayed to 2026 or something like that. No, we're still getting it, still on schedule. So that's what I was probably the most excited about.
Yeah, for sure. I honestly, I don't believe I saw it in our rundown that it was coming out this year, but that is very exciting for me. I'm glad it was. I didn't give it a perfect 10 out of 10. I did have my issues with it, but still, yeah, this was it was a great show. I'm very excited to watch it. And yeah, uh, I laughed pretty hard at the Walter Goggins teasers. They dropped a few more where he was doing the ads. I
Yeah.
really enjoyed that. I mean, that's the best part about Fallout is the comedy. They really did a great job with the comedy, and he was the best part of it, in my opinion. The goal to getting to see him a little bit more, just in a little teaser, I was like, it got me excited to be back in the universe, and that's exactly what it was supposed to do. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah, for
Um,
sure.
the other thing was we got the Nick Cage little teaser for Spiderman Noir. I know I asked you right before the podcast if you had seen it, and you hadn't, but I did just want to mention that it looks really good visually. I mean, we really didn't see anything for the show in and of itself, but it is cool that it's on Amazon Prime. I am excited for the aesthetic. I think it looked really good, and that's a cool series that I think we're gonna have a lot of fun with. Even though it's not connected to the MCU, it's not connected to anything else. I think that may be best for this show, and I think it's really cool that we're getting this and that Nick Cage is doing it. Because man, I love myself some Nick Cage. That's pretty awesome.
Yeah, I think it's just more kudos to the Across the Spider-Verse and Into the Spider-Verse movies that they made a character like that so intriguing that Amazon was like, what if we get the rights to make just a whole show about him? And so I think that's going to be really fun. I also agree. I think it's best that this is away from the MCU and all that stuff. But it's fun too with the Spider-Man and how well they've done explaining the Spider-Verse. That even though it isn't part of it, the story isn't going to connect. It's still really fun to kind of just get these stories about these other Spider-Men. So I haven't got a chance to look at the trailer, but I've heard some good things. You've mentioned that you liked it. So I'm excited to check it out here. Probably after this podcast, I might hop on it and see what it looks like.
Yeah, just jump off and look at it. It's like 24 seconds long. It's pretty cool. I also I tried to find a good link from YouTube, but I couldn't find one that was like the actual post. So I don't even know where I saw it on Facebook, I believe. Um, but yeah, and then the last piece of exciting news is today when you all are listening to this potentially, or if you listen to it a few days late because we dropped it a few days late and it fell off your radar, who knows? But the Superman official trailer
Hmm.
is dropping tomorrow for us today for those listening on the day of release, which is super exciting. I am so excited for Superman. I know you are amped for Superman, so I'm really excited to get on the phone with you and Peyton tomorrow and kind of discuss what y'all think of the Superman trailer, because this is our first official one, right? Not
Yeah.
just the teaser, which is exciting.
Which I will say, the first teaser that we got was a pretty long teaser, like that first trailer. So I'm interested mostly to see like how much new stuff do we actually get in this trailer. I'm assuming a lot of it's going to be reused. I honestly hope a good chunk of it is reused. I don't want to really see a whole lot more of this movie with us being pretty close to the release date for it. So I'm excited to see what it is. I hope they don't show too much though, because we have so many trailers nowadays that almost show us the whole movie. So hopefully this one doesn't do that, and hopefully it's just a really good trailer to continue to get us excited for this. This probably one of the biggest blockbuster movies of the summer.
No, uh, I don't know if Fantastic Four or this will do more. I think Fantastic Four may have a little bit of the edge with it coming after, just because it doesn't have the interference that uh, Superman does. but yes, one of the biggest, no doubt. But yeah, no, very excited. I hope they don't give us too much either. But like you said, I think they give way too much away in trailers now.
Mhm.
It's very frustrating. But I remember seeing the Infinity War or the not the Infinity War, the Endgame trailer, and seeing that Tony was back on Earth with the entire group, and I was like, I didn't really want to see that. Like, it
Yeah.
would have been cool to like not have the anticipation like that he's coming back and I know it gets resolved in the first 30 seconds of the film, but I still would have liked to have had it a little bit longer. It's just a piece of the movie you don't need to show. Like, we know RDJ is going to be in it. We know Iron Man's coming, but like, don't show him with the group. Maybe there's something there. So anyway, very cool, very excited, all of that. But now, Jacob, the monumental task of going through the MCU and ranking the best quotes. Now, there's so many ways that we can do this. We can look at it and say like the most impactful quotes, our favorite quotes, our laugh out loud quotes, the ones that we say the most. There is a ton of ways to rank quotes. Jacob, give us a kind of a sneak peek of how you rate your quotes.
Well, before we was this ranking was actually recommended, wasn't it?
It was recommended by one of our listeners.
Yeah, so that's just goes to proof that we actually do listen to you guys. So if you guys do have recommendations for not even rankings, just like something you want us to talk about, something you want us to watch and review, definitely let us know because obviously we do take those into great consideration if that's what you guys are wanting us to talk about. But as far as my list, I talked to you a little bit about it before the podcast started, and I really didn't want to go with too much of just like quotes that I liked. And I know that sounds funny, but knowing me, it would have been just a lot of goofy, funny, probably 90% Guardians of the Galaxy quotes. So I tried to switch it up a little bit. I do have a couple of those in there that are just ones that I personally like. But when I'm thinking like best quotes in the MCU, I'm thinking about like what are the ones that are the most impactful? What are the ones that you still see clips of today about like this moment was awesome or like this moment really sticks out in my head. So that's kind of how I tried to model my list. Obviously, I threw a few in there that I just liked personally, but I mostly tried to go with like the best ones. Like if you like almost Google searched like what is the best MCU quotes, they're probably going to be on that list. That's kind of where I tried to go with it, just because I wanted to just talk about like what are the quotes that we all remember. You know, it's not a quote that we might easily forget, just the ones that everyone still talks about to this day. So that's kind of where I went with my list.
Okay. And I think that's a really great way to do it. I kind of went with the quotes that were most impactful to me, stuck with me the most, and then were very impactful to the story and or emotionally to me during that time. I did steer clear of some of the funny quotes. Like, I was thinking like, hey, why is Gamora is one of my favorite quotes in the entire MCU, where Gamora where Drax, you got Batista who impromptu says why is Gamora when they're in the standoff with Star-Lord and Iron Man. And it's just an awesome moment. It's hilarious. It's perfect. It fits his character great, but it's just not. It didn't make my top five because it's just not impactful enough.
Mhm.
And that's kind of like where some of these felt where they were like my favorite quotes. Like, I love "I'm Mary Poppins, y'all," as Yondu drifts down with his arrow in Guardians of the Galaxy 2. That's an amazing one. I bought Chelsea a shirt that says "I'm Mary Poppins, y'all" in the shape of Yondu's head. But again, it's just like you said, it may just be a little too silly, not quite impactful. And with so many fantastic movies, we got 36 movies in the MCU plus shows. I think we're up to like 15 shows now. So with all of that, yeah, my list was trying to be emotional, impactful, and just uh, a really great moment in the MCU. So that's how I went with them.
Well, and it's funny too if you think about like you could do a whole list basically off three characters in my opinion. If you want a funny list, almost every single one of the quotes could be Drax. If you want like a serious list, they could all be Thanos. And then if you wanted like a relatable list, they could all be Iron Man. So I think it's kind of funny like that we have those characters that kind of stick out in your minds a little bit. Like, oh, I kind of understand what Iron Man's saying here. Like this kind of like makes sense. It's more of a realistic, relatable quote. And then you got Thanos with his just dropping like poetic lines almost every time he speaks. And then you got the goofy Drax. So I love that we have that kind of level. I think it's what makes the MCU so special is we do have that many characters that bring such different elements to a TV screen. So it's gonna be a lot of fun to kind of see like which characters did we go with, what really stood out the most to us.
Yeah. And at the end of this, if you guys stick around, I will give you an entire list of every quote that I considered in this ranking because there was a lot. I had a very difficult time with this list. I spent a lot of time, and I'm very happy with where it came out. But looking back on it, I may have some regrets that there's not enough comedy in my list, but that's okay. It is the list, and I am very satisfied with it. So, let's go ahead and start off. Jacob, do you want to drop your number five? What is your fifth favorite quote in the
Yeah,
MCU?
let me get my list pulled up here because my first list actually is a goofy one. I figured if I'm gonna have one, let's get it out early. Let's not let it be a top three quote that I have to hear people tell me about. Like, oh, I can't believe this is a top three quote for you in the MCU. So I went with my goofy one a little earlier on, and minus obviously a Drax quote because I just mentioned, if you're gonna have Goofy, it probably is definitely gonna be with him. And I think one of my favorite moments, he has lots of them where it's just like one of those moments like that is just such a dumb quote, but it's actually so funny. And it's nothing goes over my head. My reflexes are too fast. I would catch it. And I think that's just so funny. Like just the thought of like where he's coming from with that. Like obviously when you say like nothing goes over my head, you're usually talking about like a joke or a saying or something like that. But no, he just takes it to an even dumber level and thinks of it as a physical object going over his head. So that's my fifth one. I wanted to have one goofy one, so I figured it'd be good to get that one out of the way.
And that's an amazing quote and such an incredible moment there with Rocket Raccoon getting to break it down with Star Lord, just how his people are. Like his people are literal. They can't understand it, and it's really cool also to kind of get to see Drax develop and try to understand. Like that's a uh,
Mm-hmm.
continual joke, continual hit, and character development that we get to see Drax go throughout the entire time with his comedy and trying to understand and getting to develop with Rocket and with Star Lord. And he really gets to like, because we all speak in metaphors like consistently all the
Mm-hmm.
time. And you don't realize how many you say until you would be around somebody who never gets them. I was actually on a work trip recently, and one of my coworkers looked at me and was like, "I can never tell if you're serious or not." Like, and and my friend who's with me all the time can clearly tell where my sarcasm starts and where my sarcasm ends. But it is funny when you're not with it.
Mm-hmm.
Those things are really hard to grasp. So I think that's a
Yeah.
fantastic first quote.
Yeah, I wanted to get my goofy one out of the way. It was like I just like it. Like it's just a fun quote. So that's
Oh,
why I
it's
went
a
with that one.
great
There's a
quote.
couple of other ones that I was like hesitant, like I was on the verge of putting there. They were all also Drax quotes, but I went with that one just because I was like, I like it. So
What was another one? Go ahead and throw another one out that you were
I don't
debating
know
with
it
Drax.
like I don't have it word for word. But it's when Drax says there's like two type of people on this planet, those of us who dance and those who do not. And I'm
Yeah.
like, that's kind of funny because I'm definitely of those. I do not dance, but I just like that type of his type of like lines, and I think it's also credit to Batista. Like he does such a good job of delivering those lines and like making you believe Drax is just dumb, and like maybe he is a little bit, but I love the way those lines are delivered, and there's so many of them throughout the Guardians movies.
Yeah, and there's so many good lines with him too. I was really debating putting on. I know we're gonna get into this later, but when Mantis is talking to him in the end, and you know, you weren't meant to be a destroyer, you were meant to be a dad, and kind of the complete full circle culmination of his character arc is such a beautiful moment.
Yeah,
That was one that I really debated because I love the Guardians so much, but it didn't make my list. But I would really wanted to put it on there.
yeah. No, there's so I feel like I said, there's a few movies and franchises, Guardians in particular, that have like just a lot of those one-liners that are either funny or kind of hit really hard. Again, credit to Guardians of the Galaxy for the range of emotions they're able just to pull off throughout their series.
Yeah, and James Gunn specifically writing
Yeah.
and allowing those characters to be so well fleshed out. And speaking of Guardians of the Galaxy, my number 5 quote coming in for me is a Guardians of the Galaxy quote, and it comes from my boy Yondu. So it's to set the scene. Quill just killed his father. He's killing Ego. On the spoiler alert for Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2, Ego is Quill's father, and he kills him. But as they're flying away from the destroyed planet, Yondu is sacrificing himself, and he says to Quill, he says, "Hey, he may have been your father, boy, but he wasn't your daddy." And I just like I love that quote. It's such an amazing end to Yondu's character, and then we get to see he puts the air bubble on Quill, and Quill has to send there with the realization that Yondu was his actual dad as he passes away in front of him. And what a monumental quote for that character, and I'm sure it's so relatable. I had the privilege of growing up with an amazing father, but a lot of people didn't. And there's a lot of people that had people stand in their lives that weren't their father, but but they were their daddy. They were the people who took care of them. They were the one who was actually there, and I thought that was cool. And just an amazing quote from Yondu to kind of really bring the emotion in such a silly franchise, but a really hard hitting line and a perfect culmination of that character. So that was my number 5. He may have been your father, boy, but he wasn't your daddy.
Yeah, and also it kind of has that play on it, like just the way Yondu would speak. It's just executed so well. Like that's exactly how he would say that. No, I think that's a great quote. I think that we both started off with Guardians quote, but they're both so much almost on different sides of the spectrum of
Oh,
what
for
Guardians
sure.
of the Galaxy is, right? Like I had the goofy one, and you had like it's kind of funny in the way that it sounds, but it also hits really hard. So no, I think that's a great quote for number 5, especially for you. I knew you were going to have at least one Guardians quote in here, and I wouldn't be surprised if you have another one.
It was really difficult, man. There's just so many good ones. Um, yeah, I think the only way that it could have been like more opposite is if you like quoted, "I have famously large turds." Like,
So I thought about that one, but I was like, that one's too dumb.
I mean, it's pretty spectacular for a stupid quote, but yes, yeah, I agree. It's probably not top 5 unless you are just really into
Yeah.
to poop jokes.
Yes. Poop jokes, man.
All right,
Oh.
number
Well,
4. What you got?
number 4 for me gets a little bit more serious here, and I always like those heroic characters throughout like shows. I like when they have like those moments where you're like, oh, that like they showed up, like that's so cool. And this one is a Thor quote, and it says, "I choose to run towards my problems and not away from them because that's what heroes do." And I think that's just such a good quote. That one comes from Ragnarok. I just love that Thor quote. And Thor is a cool character, don't get me wrong. He's definitely not like a top tier character for me, especially with what they did to him like recently. He kind of turned into more of a joke than like that serious character. But I feel like that moment for him was like a very serious moment. And he has those throughout the MCU that you're like, okay, that's like the God of Thunder. Like that's a cool quote for him. And I feel like that just really fits his character. And so that's why I went with that one. I also think it's just a good metaphor for like life, right? Like we shouldn't be running away from things that scare us. You hear that all the time. Like you got to do things that keep you scared because that's how you continue to progress as a person. And you can almost kind of assimilate that to this. Like you can't run away from those like problems because if you don't ever deal with your problems, they'll never go away. And so I kind of like that also how it's also like it's not just like a cool quote, but it's also something you could like apply to your everyday life.
No, and that's a really good quote. And it is funny, like even in that moment where he's being serious, but he also is coming across comedically in that moment where
Yes.
it's like that's what heroes do. I think he says that several times in that movie too, like not that specific quote, but that's what
Yeah, yeah,
heroes
yeah.
do. And I really do like that because it is true. Like if you're running away from your problems, you're probably not a super heroic, courageous dude. And so it is pretty cool. I like that quote. That's a great pick. I did see that in a few lists when I was looking at some. And I thought that was a really super solid pick to throw in your top 5.
Yeah, with as many like quotes as there are in the MCU, you have to look up like quotes and see what other people are saying because there's so many like you'll forget. That was one I completely had forgotten about. And when I was looking through some lists like that, I was like, oh, you know what? I forgot about that one. I think that's a really good one. Just because I like the actual like application of you can put it to your life. And that's probably about the only one I have in here that you can apply like that. So I felt like
Okay.
I had to have like I have my funny one, and then I had like your one that like you can take outside of like the MCU and put it like to your real life application. And so I felt like that was a good balance there.
Yeah. No, that is definitely a good balance. Yeah, I actually just sat down and watched all 36 movies and then all of, all 16 shows and really poured through. No, just kidding. Yeah. Nobody has time
I
with that,
wrote
but
down every single line, and then I went through and crossed out the ones that didn't make the list.
I crossed out the ones that I didn't cry at and I was like, okay, which ones am I left with? um this next one is probably odd for a lot of people and it's not as impactful, but I think that this one for me really stood out and it kept coming back. And every time I tried to put one in front of this one or kind of replace this one with one, because I do have so many other good ones on here, this this one just get oh man, kind of got choked up by this one just kept coming back to me, and it's I Love You 3000.
Hmm.
And it's man, when Morgan Stark is going to bed and Tony Stark's putting her to bed, go to bed. I'm going to sell all your toys. I love you. And she looks at him and says, "I love you 3000." And it just kind of hits him. And it's such a sweet, beautiful moment where he realizes, and then he goes downstairs and talks to Pepper. Um, but then when it comes full circle, and he's breaking it down in the hologram at the end of the movie, he's passed away, and this is his own farewell to Morgan, and he's telling everyone it's going to work out all right. I hope we win. I'm sure it's going to work out all right. And then he looks at her and he says, "I love you 3000." It's just such an amazing line, a culmination of like what that meant to him, and even though like he did it for her, like he did it for the family. He did it so other people could have that opportunity. And it was just an amazing moment to go through and to see at the beginning of the movie, like kind of like almost a throwaway moment that was really impactful, to be giving that speech and to be giving the long farewell, the long goodbye after he died. It's such an amazing quote. It's a tearjerker moment and it lasts for a long time. My Father's Day gift to me, the year that Avengers Endgame came out, was a onesie and a matching shirt that the onesie said "I love you 3000" for my daughter, and then mine had "Dad" with an Avengers for the A that my wife made herself. And so it's just like a really impactful moment for me, a really impactful like memory, and I love that quote. It's such a good thing. I do say it as well. It's one of probably my more quoted signs because it's so easy. But I love the "I love you 3000." So that's my fourth one.
Yeah, no, it's a great pick. And that kind of goes back to those lines I was talking about. Like, what are the lines that like everybody knows that if they've watched the MCU, like you come across that and you're like, oh, I know exactly what that's from. And I think that's like those are the lines that I feel like really stick out because everybody knows them, because they are such big moments in the MCU. And if you think about it, do you think when Marvel put that in there, do you think they expected it to have as big of an impact as it had on everybody? I don't really know that they did. I think it was kind of a goofy way of saying I love you, but it really hit with the type of character that Tony Stark was, and just like that it came from his kid and the way it does all wrap around to the end. I really love how well that was implemented. And it's obviously probably one of the most iconic lines, and also like you just mentioned, one of the most quoted lines. I know so many people that say that to their loved ones and stuff like that, their kids, all that stuff. So it's a really good line, and obviously it's one of the best ones in the MCU.
Yeah. Do you want me to get number three so you don't have to go back to back or get
Yeah, sure, go
yours
ahead.
every time? All right. So I go ahead and give mine number three. It comes from Captain America not Civil War. Captain America Winter Soldier, one of the best solo movies in the MCU. But a
Mhm.
really impactful line for me is uh, you got Steve Rogers, Bucky fighting. Steve Rogers has just eliminated the actual threat. There's not going to be mass casualty, but he's still fighting Bucky. Uh, and he kind of just stops fighting. And he's trying to get Bucky to realize it. And he says, "Hey, you're my friend. Uh, Bucky yells back, "You're my mission," and Cap goes, "Well, then finish it." And then this is my quote number 3, because I'm with you till the end of the line. And I just think it's such an amazing callback to when Bucky said that to Cap when he was going off. We get to see the character of Captain America. Now, I know you hate Mr. Goody Two Shoes. Captain America is evil for you. You don't like how good he is. But I adore Captain America. I adore his character. I adore his composure and his unwavering morals. And, he's unwilling to fight his friend, regardless of what his friend has done, regardless of what he's doing. This ship is going down. He is not going to fight him. And I really love that because I'm with you till the end of the line. He gives up. It makes the Winter Soldier mad. She stops hitting him. He then falls from the helicarrier into the water, and Bucky goes in and he actually does save him. It is the initial line that started to turn Bucky back to who he remembered he was, that led to Civil War. So, man, I just think number 3 is such an impactful line, such a great encapsulation of what Steve Rogers is and why he's worthy of being Captain America. And it's a great moment.
Yeah, no, it is a great moment. I like their dynamic throughout like the whole entire MCU. I think those two really bounce well off of each other. Every time they're in a scene together, you can tell that they've like been friends. And so the fact that like that scene just carries so much emotion, like throughout that whole time they're fighting, like you can clearly tell the Winter Soldier he's gonna kill him. Like he wants to kill him. Whether he's actually capable of Captain America actually stood up to him or not, who knows, right? But I just love the fact that like I don't like the goody two shoes aspect, and my next quote is going to kind of throw Cap under the bus a little bit, but I do think he is a good character for what he is supposed to be, and that's just one of the lines that kind of does portray what he is, and so I think that's a really good line, and it's a very impactful line for just like not only his character but really for Bucky. I mean, I think that's something that he carries throughout his whole rest of his life, and I think we continue to see like we don't necessarily see like him mention it in like Thunderbolts and stuff like that, but you can clearly tell like he is not really happy with his past. Clearly they make that joke in the Thunderbolts where they're going through the different rooms. He's like, oh, I had a great past. I wouldn't worry about what rooms I was going to have to go through. But I think that's something that he probably thinks about fairly often, so I think that's a really good one.
Yeah, and I almost threw in "So Was I" from Iron Man from Civil War, because that was like the kind of almost the anti to this quote.
Yep.
But I didn't. I chose this one because I think it just fits a little better. This one's a little bit more impactful. The other one throws a little shade at him because he only has one friend apparently. But yeah, what is your number 3?
My number 3 is I'm sorry, Tony, but he's my friend.
Oh,
So was I.
my.
Because this is what I'm talking about, right? This is the whole thing about Captain America that I cannot stand. Everyone like he does this whole goody two shoes thing, but then he turns on clearly like one of the people that he is closest to, literally within seconds. Like, there's no debate about it. There's no moral fight in his head about whether he should or shouldn't do it. He clearly just sides with the Winter Soldier. Like you just said, apparently this guy's only allowed to have one friend. He can't de-escalate a situation, Nope. I have one friend, and if you don't like him, I'm going to try to kill you. No, I can't do it. Trust me. I've tried to like Captain America. Like, he is a good character, right? He's got so many cool attributes. I love the never giving up aspect. I love the I could do this all day. Like, that's a great line as well. And that could be in a lot of people's top lists. But this is like, I love this moment because not only is Civil War one of my favorite MCU moments, but it also leads up to arguably one of the best fights we've gotten in the MCU. So I think this line just holds so much weight. And I just had to throw a little bit of shade at Captain America because I'm not a fan of him and I'm a big Iron Man guy. So I like the dynamic between these two throughout this whole movie. But that line is just one that I think about all the time. And Civil War might be the MCU movie that I've seen the most. So I think about this line every time it comes up. I'm like, oh, I'm like rubbing my hands together. Like, we're about to get it on. Like, this is going to be so good every single time. So that's why I went with it at number 3. There's a little bit of shade at Cap. And anytime I can do that, I'm happy to do it.
Wow. I couldn't be happier that that is your choice for number three. And I'm so glad I went first just to get that. Oh, that's so funny. I will say Iron Man was trying to kill him. He was not trying to kill Iron Man. Um,
Whoa,
there,
whoa,
there,
whoa, whoa, whoa! He does give Tony the chance, or Cap the chance to stand down. Like he
yeah,
says, "Final warning."
so he can
Oh,
kill, he's going to kill Bucky.
yeah, as he should. I would do the same thing. Like, I'm in Iron Man's boat in this situation. So,
Oh, bro, that wasn't him. That was brainwash, boy.
it makes no difference in that moment. I'm sorry, Team Iron Man all the way.
Uh, I, I, I get it.
And
I
might
get
I
the
add,
anger.
and might I add, Iron Man. I always have this. It's not really a debate because I feel like everyone has to agree with it. Iron Man does win that fight. But 1-on-2 doesn't matter. If he wanted to, he could have killed them both and went on his way. But he gives them that little chance, and they take advantage of Iron Man being the nice guy here. Shame, shame, real shame.
I get it. It's an amazing and honestly such a good movie. Um,
Yeah,
it is the only. Do you consider Civil War an Avengers movie?
almost like it's kind of got like the new event. Spoilers for people that haven't seen Thunderbolts. So if you don't want to hear something, click off for like 15 seconds, fast forward. But it has like that new Avengers feeling to me. Like Thunderbolts isn't really an Avengers movie, even though they're kind of marketing it as one now. That's kind of how I think of it.
Yeah, I think of it even a little bit more than that because the characters that are in the film are all Avengers. Like
Yeah.
at the beginning of the film and at the end of the film, they're all still Avengers essentially. Um, I know it is a Cap focused Avengers story, so I
Mhm.
get that, but I do think it's an Avengers film. Just a little, not crucial to this conversation at all. I was just curious.
It is probably the closest. It is definitely the closest, like not Avenger movie to being an Avenger movie.
Yeah, if I had somebody watch Thunderbolts and I had somebody watch Avengers or Civil War, I would say, and I was like, which one's an Avengers movie? They would say Civil
Oh,
War.
100%.
Yeah.
100%.
So yeah, I consider it an Avenger movie and would probably rank it now if I was going to rank Avengers movies. I would include it. So, but anyway, that's number three. Jacob, do you have your runner up?
Yeah, my runner. I mean, this is tough for me, and there's just one line in particular that is the MCU in my opinion. So it is obviously my number one. My number two, though, this one is very basic, very generic. It is one of the most used lines throughout just Marvel. Well, I guess with one character in particular throughout with Marvel, and that's with great power there must also come great responsibility. And that this one is actually from which one is it? No Way Home.
No Way Home.
And
Yeah.
the reason I like this one is because it's not just she didn't just say like Aunt May didn't just say with great power comes great responsibility. She throws a couple of extra words in there. There must also come great responsibility. And I really appreciate when things don't just rip something off and they do add a little bit of flair to it. Like they change it up a little bit just to make it their own character saying, even though it's almost the identical saying. It's almost close to word for word. But when you add those few words in there, it makes it feel a little more personable to that character. And I think with what this movie did for Tom Holland's Spider-Man, is why I like it so much. Obviously, Spider-Man is my number one Marvel hero. I have to have a Spider-Man quote in there. There's a few other ones I was battling with, but like this is the Spider-Man quote. Like if you ask anybody like, "Hey, quote me one line from any Spider-Man movie," I feel like this is the one that would probably get quoted like 90% of the time. You might have your super Marvel fans out there that would pick something else just for the sake of picking something else, but the majority of people know this one. And it's just like it's maybe one of the most iconic Marvel lines, period, outside of the MCU. I feel like everybody knows this quote. So it's a special one to me just because Spidey's my guy. He's my number one Marvel hero, but it is just such a great quote for a superhero. And really, you can't really apply this to real life with certain aspects because we don't have powers like that. But it can be a way of like, if you're a boss at a job or something like that, you do have power how things are done, and you want to be responsible with how those things are done. So trying to tie it back into something a little more personable is a little harder, but like as a superhero quote, I think that one's just like super important for every superhero to really kind of think about.
Yeah, and you touched on what it did for Holland's character, his Spidey, and I really love that the fact that he did everything he did before this without that motivation. You
Hmm.
know, every other Spider-Man we got really has a force for good because of the failure with Uncle Ben and this quote. But our Spider-Man already had that motivation to do what's good, to do what's right without being told that. And
Mhm.
now at the culmination of his trilogy, with the ending of it, with the loss of Aunt May, he finally gets that moment, and we really get to see the full character arc of our Spider-Man for the MCU. And it is such an amazing moment, such a great quote. It is super iconic. I didn't pick it personally because it is just I felt like it was too iconic, which I know is
Yeah. Oh,
stupid
I
because it's the
100% agree.
greatest.
100% agree.
And there was just some others I liked more. I say more. But yeah, no, like you said, it it's not really relatable to us, simpletons. But I kind of think like even Joe Rogan, like what he says on his podcast is incredibly like he has a lot of responsibility to vet
For sure.
his people and the people that come on there and spew garbage, and millions of people are listening to it and not fact checking it. Like that's a lot of responsibility. We think of the president of the United States, like, and just it really does apply now. And bringing it back down, we all are leaders in some manner, shape, or form. Whether you have children in your house, whether you have colleagues, whether you have a spouse, at some point you are going to be a leader in your home, at your work, in your friend group. People do look up to you, and even with that power, it may not be. You may not feel like it's great power, but if you're influencing somebody at all, that is great power, and
Mhm.
it comes with responsibility for our own character, and so your actions matter. And I think that's just amazing. It's just an amazing thing to keep in mind to always do. And that's awesome. That's a great quote.
Yeah, and like I said, you can apply it to that, but I really do like it for like just the superhero aspect, right? Like these guys literally have superpowers. Are you going to use them for good or are you going to use them for evil?
Yeah.
And so I think like just as far as that is concerned, I think it's just a really cool quote. So
Yeah,
number
for
two
sure.
for me.
Yeah, that's a great number two. My runner up actually doesn't come from the movies. My number two comes from WandaVision. And we get to see Agatha is going through Wanda's head, and she is seeing the backflashes and kind of going through moments in Wanda's life. And we get to see the first encounter between Wanda and Vision where they first actually communicate. Wanda has just lost her brother Pietro. Spoilers for Avengers Age of Ultron, and she's really dealing with a lot of sadness and a lot of grief. And we get to see one of the most insightful, and I would probably say most insightful, most like outside of the MCU impactful lines that Vision says. And she's talking about sorrow and grief, and he says, "What is grief if not love persevering?" And I just love that. It's such a beautiful, incredible moment. It's such wisdom to kind of really see how impactful and what grief is, right? Like grief is just you love somebody and it's still enduring. Um, and he's getting to explain to her like why it's not all bad. And he's saying, sorrow can't be all bad because he's always been alone. And so he doesn't feel the lack. He doesn't feel the sorrow because he's never known love. And so the experience of grief is such a beautiful thing, to love someone and to still love them even after you lose them. Pretty awesome. And I just think it's such a beautiful wisdom. He has so many amazing, thoughtful sayings in the entire MCU, but this one to me stands out like head and shoulders above a lot of other quotes in the MCU, and this one's just spectacular.
Yeah, he kind of has that like Thanos effect too. Like when Vision speaks, like you listen, like it's gonna be a bar. So I like that one as well. I think the WandaVision show we've talked about it a lot. Like we like a lot of the MCU shows, but this is one of the ones that I feel like was just like so out of nowhere. Was it the first MCU show?
It was the first MCU show.
And, like, the way it started, like, nobody knew what the heck was going on, like, it was a really weird show at first, and then you kinda see how it all starts to connect. Just a really good show kinda to bring it back to that, but, no, that is a great one. I love, like you were just mentioning, like, that is what, grief is, that we are still just, like, loving. Like, it is still just that love holding on. So, no, I think that's a fantastic quote, and I think Vision has a bunch of those So I think that's a really good one that you picked. But there's so many you could have, like with Thanos, with Iron Man. They all have their moments where you're like, whoa, that was a good one. So yeah, I like that quote a lot.
Yeah, and I'm going to be honest. I think we probably have the same. I think we have the same number one.
You think so?
I do. I think we both have the same number one quote for the MCU.
What do
And if we
you want to
don't,
say at
I
the
would
same time?
let's try it.
All
All
right.
right, you want to count it down for us?
You got it. You got it.
All right, 3, 2, 1. I am
I
Iron
am
Man.
Iron Man.
Yeah, I mean, what can you say, right?
Yep.
The best character in the MCU.
I don't know if I would say like best character. Like it's close. I don't know, man. That's a tough question. I know a lot of people would say he is just because I feel like he is the main character of the MCU, right? Like
Oh, for
Iron Man
sure.
is what it is built around. With the first movie, like what we go through with all of that, and like I think about this quote, like not only from like people knowing it, but when you think about the MCU as a timeline, this is like a part on the timeline, like this moment in particular, and I think that is enough for it to be just a special quote in and of itself. Is not only is it awesome, like what it means, like I almost like I wanted part of me wanted to have I am inevitable at number two and I am Iron Man at number one just to kind of see like the battle that went down. Um, but like this one is just like it is the moment. It is the moment of the MCU that like echoes throughout all timelines, and that's just like such a cool moment when you think about like what it is, and it's iconic. It is probably the most iconic MCU line.
Well, and I adore it even more so that they really weren't going to go with this. Like that wasn't the original idea, was to have him stand up there and say I am Iron Man. But during filming and during the writing process, they kind of were like, yeah, this is what the character would do.
Hmm.
And it fits him so well. It framed the MCU perfectly. To put him front and center, out and about. It allowed him to be flamboyant. It allowed him to be exactly who they needed to be without a bunch of silliness of trying to be like, oh, who's actually in the suit. So I really love that saying. Then we get to revisit it in Iron Man 3 at the culmination of his trilogy when he doesn't have the arc reactor, with or without the arc reactor. I am Iron Man.
Hmm.
And then obviously you touched on it there with the snap versus Thanos, the culmination of the entire MCU from start to finish. It started with Iron Man, and a lot of people say it ended with Iron Man right there in that moment. And it's just so good. It's such a spectacular line. It's so impactful. That moment was breathtaking. It literally leaving you speechless when he says it. He snaps. Like that feeling in the theater was just so
Hmm.
incredible. And I don't know when the next time I'll feel that again. And I may never feel
Yeah.
that again in the theater.
No, I agree. And like also just like the symbolism behind it, right? Like you touched on him saying it. Like I believe he says at the end of the first Iron Man movie too when he comes out as Iron Man, doesn't he?
Um, I'm not sure if he says it in Iron Man 2. I'm sure it's probably in there somewhere. But I don't know
I
if
thought
it's
he
at
said
the
it in
end
that
of it.
first Iron Man movie. But also like with
Oh, in the
the
first Iron
this
Man, he did for sure. Yeah,
yeah,
that's at the
that's
press
what I'm talking like
conference.
yeah, the press conference when like
Oh, I thought you
just
said Iron Man 2.
like you no, just like when it does start and end with him. Like that's so cool. And then like also how Captain America has that jab earlier on in the MCU like you're not the guy to make the sacrifice play. And Iron Man continually is the guy to make the sacrifice play and like just to make it at like the ultimate level like that. Like it just pulls it all together. It's like such beautiful storytelling. Yeah, I don't know that we will ever have a moment like this in the theaters again, just because of like the MCU is still special to us, but this was the first time like the MCU is responsible for a lot of things now. Like it's the reason we have these worlds that are put together and these universes that all collide. And like this was the first one to do it well. And so like the fact that we got to like grow up with these movies and then see it end like that, I don't know that it will ever be matched because it was just such a special moment. I hope I'm wrong. Like obviously we want those movie moments every time we go to the movie theater. But like this one in particular was like really special. And if you do never get that moment again, you're almost happy that you got it with this.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. The fact that I was on this journey and I got to to be a part of it, honestly. Even now with phase 5 and the disappointments that we got, it's just not the same going to the theater and kind of almost going with dread of like, oh, is this one going to be a bad one? Are they going to be
For
good?
sure.
um the excitement is just not there. It's not hitting the same. Even, I mean, Thunderbolts was spectacular and I had an amazing time with it. But the level in game reached was completely different. And so, yeah, I think that's just a spectacular moment, a spectacular quote, and the culmination of a character, the culmination of over a decade long movie franchise that we grew up with my favorite character in all of Marvel, and just so good. How can you not love the I Am Iron Man? It's iconic.
Yeah, it's so good. Like every time you see that that moment come up, like you said, it was like dead silent in the movie theater. Every time, like if I rewatch in game or anything like that, like I always am ready for that moment. Like it's quiet. I want to hear it like how I heard it the first time. It's so good. Like it's just executed, like the symbolism behind it, the way it's done, the fact that it's Iron Man making the sacrifice play, the look of it is just amazing looking. Like it just looks so heroic. Like yeah, it's awesome. It's peak.
So good. Well, that is our list. Um, should I break down all of my runner ups real quick? Just
Yeah,
run
go ahead.
just
Let's hear some of these.
shotgun blast them off. Yeah. So, but a thing isn't beautiful because it lasts. It's a privilege to be among them. Tony, he's a friend. So was I. Puny God, bring me Thanos. We all know who's in charge here. Uh, there are the hands that made us. Then there are the hands that guide us. Not to men like you. That guy, that was the old man standing up to Loki. That one's kind of a
Hmm.
little obscure one, but
Yeah,
I
good.
really like that one. The price of freedom is high. It always has been, and if I'm the only one willing to pay it, then so be it. But I'm willing to bet I'm not. A little long one. I'm Mary Poppins, y'all. I touched on that one. I'm sorry, I can only afford to lose one friend today. Uh, it's just an unspoken thing. Ain't no thing like me but me. I love that one from Rocket. And that one really was really close to making it. You could not live with your own failures, so where did that bring you back to me? Strong enough to have it all, too weak to take it. The city is flying. We're fighting an army of robots, and I've got a bow and arrow. Nothing makes sense. Listen to me. You are a god. If you kill me, you'll be just like everyone else. What's so wrong with that? You should have gone for the head. Why is Gamora? He's a friend from work. Your dad liked cheeseburgers too. No amount of money could have ever bought a second of time. No amount of money ever bought a second of time. The hardest choices require the strongest wills. Death is what gives life meaning, to know your days are numbered. Righteousness without power is an opinion. Nothing goes over my head. My reflexes are too fast. Uh, because they knew death was better than bondage, and power insights challenge. So that was a long rundown list of everything I wrote out. Like that, those plus the five I just ranked were what I had to struggle with of where to put my rankings. So it was a pretty long list, and it was a challenge to kind of narrow it down. And that's not even all of them. There's a lot that didn't make that list.
Yeah, I love that you had a Thunderbolt quote that made it too, which is one that we both like kind of nudged each other. The power without what is it? Power without something is just an opinion.
Right? Yeah, righteousness without power is an
Yeah,
opinion.
yeah. Like I love that that was like just from a new movie that we just got. So it does go to show that the MCU can still hit, just not like it used to sometimes. So now I'm super happy that you mentioned that one because I thought that was such a deserving one to hear. But dude, this was fun. There's so many other quotes that we probably didn't even think about that were like if we rewatched the entire MCU and we really did write down every line. I mean, there would probably be hundreds of them that were like, "Oh, that's a good one," or "That's a funny one." But overall, I think we did a really good job. Just picking five is tough, but I think we did a really good
Oof.
job with it.
Yeah, super tough. And I'm very curious to see what you guys think of our list. and if you even have a list yourself. So please engage with us. Send us a message on Instagram. Let us know, what did you think of our list? Did you enjoy this? Was this a worthy ranking for you guys? And is your favorite quote also Iron Man? And if it's not, why not? Yeah.
I agree. Why is it not? Because it should be.
Yeah. Oh yeah, we can't be wrong, you know.
No,
It's our
no,
it's
we're the
our
hosts.
opinion. Yeah, that's
Obviously, we're right.
yeah, clearly. We control the media. So well guys, thanks so much for sticking around for us. This is a blast. We love bringing these ranking ones to you guys. And sorry it's a day late, but sorry my wife's birthday was just more important than the podcast. So that's going to happen. But thank you so much. We will be back with you next week to talk about Andor. The entire season, we'll be breaking down what we thought about all 12 episodes of Andor and whether or not you should watch it if you haven't. And if you have watched it, come join the conversation. Let us know what you thought about Andor, what you thought about this episode. And if you have any suggestions or podcast recommendations or requests, let us know. We'd love to hear it. We'd love to connect with you. So, with that, that's the Weekly Fix signing off. We will catch you in the next one.